Setting up stream, setting line interference, position, location, directions. Tracy and the avatar has to know exactly where it is at all times setting. Now you have a 24 position, location, direct locations, right? Now, as you can see line position locations. It's a different room setting, right? So the avatar has to know exactly where it is, where it's conscious of its awareness. Because if it's not conscious and aware of where it is, there is a detection locations to a glitch, right? So we all have to be aware of where we are every second, every minute, every hour of our day, right? I just want you guys to really understand your line settings when you come to all position locations. Consciousness is something that you are. It's not something that you wear. It's not something that you see. Okay. It all levels you in your position, location, directions, inside conditions. Okay. So be consciously aware of that. Right. Be consciously aware of looking left, looking right, looking center, looking up, looking down, looking back. That's being consciousness of where you are. Right? Your connections to your chakra system, your connections to your environment. Your environment is number one, especially when you're going outside line setting, inline position locations. But remember, everything that you do outside is inside location. So it's a total inversion line setting. So you're waking at line setting locations. Okay, you're learning to crawl, you're learning to basically get into walk, you're learning to talk. It's all calculated to modify high setting interference, guys. It's just to understand what you do with your avatar setting. So once you get into that all levels, it measures your position of directions of where you are in the setting location. All right. So today in class, we're going to try through time lock, loopings, setting line, rotation to vortex chamber locations. So it's repelling, time repelling. Okay. It's like zip lining. We've got into that basic understanding position, location, directions. But I just really want you to understand how to go through code weightings, code central calculation setting. So let's say you get one line setting interference. Remember the relation position, direction, locations? All right, so we'll channel line setting location of 1. I like to start with 1, right? One line setting, zip cross location. Okay, 1 is zipping locations, right? Line setting locations equals line conditions to 2, right? So there it is. See the solar graph? Line strip. Repelling communication, time vortex, over line position, right? Energy dome, line setting, set communication system. Looks like a hamburger, right? So line setting is straight saying how to set graph location of stream locations, right? It's about really understanding the connections to its stair. Okay, let's walk up the stair lines. So you have to understand lacing line, setting lines, of line and line rotation, and interference location of clock locations, right? China operates in stream locations to set line setting. So it gets more complicated when you understand the energetic graph lines, the streams, in position of 4 position mechanics in high setting. Okay? It's 4 line setting locations, right? But remember how you start with 1, and 1 becomes line setting. You time leap, time jump, time vortex locations into all levels. So it's interesting to look at locations, right? Try operation send location, get the team set in line position location of the platform, communication code signals, formation locations, overlines track, operational levels, connections to ground setting, teleportation stream settings, allocate position of dimensional timeline, lock interference of all position of vortex chambers, set locations and position. All levels, let's get into correlation, into zip lining, time leads, time jumps, time vortex locations. Parallels, polarity location of channel lines and position locations, PCU, CPU, and DCP, travel calculation setting. All right, so as you're saying locations and position, so you guys are traveling very fast location settings. All right, so I really want to stay with the connection line setting into all positions of formulas, all right? So you can even get position location to formula, right? Equal line connections, all line center location of 1, all right? So you can one line center into 0. Okay, 0 opens all communications in position. Now your direct line center is position of graphs. Okay, when you get into graphs, it gets more complicated because now you get into hologram stream locations to your sun lines. So this is the plateau interference location to its positional levels of form, equal line center location to its formula. setting line, position location, eagle line setting. Anything eagle line setting location is the bounce communications into 5 setting locations. All right. So there's so many different ways to set up a formula. See this here in the direct location. See this here. See this painting. See the canvas, right? It's balanced on both sides. Okay. See the coloration, right? See the vase, see the vase, right? To understand what it is to understand what it is through all levels of consciousness. So everything has an equation setting. Now, the equation setting sets line position location. So this is kind of like this line setting location is paint by number. Each position location, each vase line setting is paint by number. Okay. So what happens when you paint by number? It becomes a visionary line center location, a diagram of an illustration program setting that comes into locations. So this is all creation of thoughts that's created this painting all through its canvas, of its coloration, of space and time, of its division locations, of pi, right? Pi is in the middle. Here and here is time. How long it takes to jump. How long does it take to create the maintenance position of its pi through space? Okay. So if you look at that in direct locations, you understand the foundation lines. Now, formulas comes in all communication setting. All right. So let's start with one equal locations into a colossal channel. Okay. Colossal channel comes line setting, hindline setting. Indirect location to its all circle locations. Right? Circle equals locations of operation. See that? Making sure it gets in calculation stream setting. All right, so we got electrical line wires, change position, location, direction. Right? And then you go back in position directions to the light signals in center communication. Right? So what happens is the ground setting changes direction locations. Gets bigger and bigger and bigger, right? So it gets bigger, it changes line center to the operation of its ground setting. That's equal locations of 3. Now, 3 communication system is lines all levels to what? Cortex communication system to your sacral calculation. Now, 3 line center is set up location of 0 position locations. This automatically becomes 2 line setting in position of operation because the security line center location changes position to its grounds that operates the signal location to its level that opens all communication system to its UFO line setting in 3 weather communication systems equals back in calculations of 1 division. Everything is equation of a formula. So everything in this room is balanced. Now, the male and the female aspects of location of space and time as division location is all calculated and modified, right? So even if the foundation of the grounds is off, it's still balanced unless your mind is off balance. So if your mind is off balance, the foundation of you is off balance. Isn't that amazing? So as soon as you change your thought, it changes the program of your set system. How you see the male and the female line setting sees all calculations to your balance calculation setting interference, right? But everything that you see location is the ball circuit locations, 4 channel operation streamline setting, artistry interference, center communication system, position location, all levels of its artistry locations, right? So it's really recognizing the atmospheres. The environment around setting line connection is inside position locations. The operation system starts off with the 0 location, which is the underground setting. And then you come into the line setting location of 1, which is the ground location, the earth perception line. Okay. So calculating that line setting is truly stand the atmosphere line setting, the water communication system of travel, acceleration line connection, position directions, the foundation locations into all levels of air, calculations to its fire, to its ground setting. Because you're working with 4 line settings. See, every time I do that, it makes sure that it's in direct location. So it lets me know what I'm doing right and what I'm doing wrong. Right? The computer is allowing me to see that position of its program setting locations. So again, if your foundation is off balance, you're allowing it to be off balance in the mind setting. So it could be in position location of construction. When you're looking at a building and you feel the off center, right? It may be off balance to you in the structural line center, the physical line, but not in the avatar mind. So in that position, location, directions, if it's off-center locations, it can fix these things for the mind setting. That changes the thought, that changes the location, that changes the directions, right? Size graph interference location is all levels in how you see yourself. This volumes your connections to your line setting. So understand position, location, and directions opens all channels. Okay, so I want you to understand more line setting locations when you come to formulas of its equation. Alpha line setting location, uniform line setting rotation. All right. So really understand the adaptation surface is to understand your lines. You have to understand how to use the air, how to use the fire, water, right? How to use the ground. It's a low gravity is the grounds, right? It's a ripple effect. So it's, deep, low, and then you bring your rhythm up higher. So your plotted division location is coursing line settings and line position locations into all levels. You start off the operation cycle. You set communication system locations of your direction line setting. It opens all channel operation locations of you and position direction. Now, understanding the fluctuation of flux capacitor set locations opens the levels of a Stargate line. Now, the Stargate line comes into line position locations. All right. Centers communication in your thought communication setting. All right. Now, this opens all channel line position in its operation circle. So once you come in an orb channeling at high positions, it's direction locations. Now, when you get out of that line center, you come into your line positions of a fan. Flaw erection of timelines and position locations, all right? So there's so many things that you can do line setting to a fan communication setting. It's all levels of you, right? So you can energize the line setting locations into coloration of position, all levels of perception. It's kind of like the connections to Pictionary. Hey, that is a position of a house. No, it's not a house. It just changed the frame. So the person that is up there is drawing the design, and the people back there are trying to figure out what he or she is drawing. Okay, that's telepathy over visionary cortex line center of illustration. So it's all position, location, of directions. All right. So one position line direction is everything through operation system to all levels of calculation to high setting of yin and yang. All right. So the 6 central line setting, line position location of 9. 9 sets line position. So 6 comes in position, 9 comes into position locations, equal locations, right? 6 equals 9 line setting, right? When it's not set up, position location is division. So until it understands line setting, 6 is off calculation, and 6 is not a plateau in the center communication system until it understands its timeline and its time stream line setting to all position location to all levels of calculation. Okay? So there's a lot of things you have to set up position location is all levels of your thoughts. So this comes into balanced communication of a scale. I love doing the scales. There's a scale right here. All right, that's a scale, right? Life is based on this, right? Teeter-tottering too much in this line setting, off position. Too many teeter-totter locations on this sideline conditions. Thought communications over there, thought communications down here, thought communications over here, thought communications over there, thought communications over here. See what you're doing with your thoughts? All through scale. You see how complicated it gets if you don't understand the balanced position location and direct locations? You're shifting your knowledge every second, every minute, every hour of the day, position locations per second, per channel, per operation, per square, per mile. You're doing that every single time you get in your thought line setting. You have to learn how to balance out your scales in your division line setting to all operation system to your avatar connections. That's the only way you're going to be able to balance anything in that formation to its equation. All right. Okay, let's see here. line signaling, setting line, position, location, directions. Where are we? The line setting interference. Okay, Cami on deck. Great. Adam, how's it going? Nikki, communication, Jill, line setting. Lindsay. How's it going, Lindsay? C, Infinitive, center line rotation, Trinity. Max, Yolanda, CC, MacGyver, JP, Tina, Scales, Skyla, Ash, Pam, Sam, Commander, Ryan, Trinity, Geneva, McCall, Heather, Sammy. Okay, communication is sparkles. Let's go communication stream setting, line setting. You have to find comfortability location of voice grid locations. It's all about understanding how you see things line setting, right? Your position location is in front view, but you're not just focusing on the front line. You're also focusing on up, down, sides, and back. Okay? Your peripheral has to understand all position of angle point locations, but you're always on travel location line setting to position a 45-degree angle. Why? Why? Because that's all you're allowed in your timeline setting. It's an angle point communication to all levels. This is a Stargate recognition timeline that sets line set location in your 12 DNA. So you have to recognize the Stargates from 0 gravity to 12 position locations of direction, right? So it's really understanding how to set up a tunnel, defense position location, how to travel through a half pipe, how to travel through a 3/4, how to travel through 2/4 line setting, how to travel through 1/4 position location directions. So all levels of travel recognition of time, space, position, location of its directions opens all levels of you through channel, right? So, all right, calculating all systems, radar online and running, mountains coming into calculations, divine between valleys. Good. School provides you not just the guidance, but the position at your option setting to allow geographic locations of travel line setting and high setting locations. Michaela? All right, Michaela, I need you to change line setting locations. You're not GFL line setting anything with corporation and position of perception or anything through communication setting. All right, please change your line setting locations. Your calculation line setting rotation enters the Michaela. Change it to CPU _ Michaela. Right, I need you to change your position to levels, so track locations to your team setting. All right, it's important to understand locations. Cami, setting in position, direct locations. All right. So getting in this position locations, you have to truly understand how to balance out your scales of you, right? Yeah, make sure you change it there, Michaela. Make sure you change it on your TikTok locations, all right? Keeping aware of your title defense lines is extremely important, guys. It doesn't matter what you do in your bios, it's your title defense, okay? So the avatar is in exactly where it is, because if it isn't, it's off balance. It's off balance. It's like wearing the same shirt for the next 7 days, right? You come into personal hygiene, right? So these are the things that you do, and these are the things that you don't do, right? So it's all about position location and how you feel with your system. Sometimes you want to wear a beard. Sometimes you want to shave. Sometimes you want to change your hair. Sometimes you want to change your glasses. That is all levels of what? Changing the anomalies of your avatar of space and how you feel through your emotional system, right? You wear your glasses on, you wear your glasses off. It's up to you. It's not a problem unless you think of it as a problem. There's no right or wrong in anything that you do. It's all calculated to modify how you see yourself in your vision, right? So these are the things that you have to look at, right? But remember, you're only on a 24 position of a window. Your central system is not 48, 72. You live on a 1-day signal. Now, it's what you do with the 12 line setting in position location to other 12 locations, sets locations. So you got 12 line centers of light and 12 line centers of dark. That central its communication line setting right away in position location of yin and yang, right? So The connections that you have to understand is all levels of its falling setting. Now, understanding the fragmentation lines of factor communication is space-time division locations over factor calculation is time factor, time calculus, time line, time to directory. Gets more complicated when you high-rise highline send it to your avatar location, right? Because this is what you're living on. Okay, you're living 12 thought line centers of light and 12 thought line centers of dark. So when you're driving in the day, lights, it's fine, clarity, focus, you can see. But when you're at night, it's deceiving, right? You have to change your thought. You have to change your thinking. You have to change your knowing and doing. You have to change your consciousness of what you're doing through its awareness. When you're seeing light and dark, light, dark. But light and dark is one. So there's no male and female aspects of light and dark. It's one. Okay? So everything that you see is one, has to be one, because it's living one timeline, simultaneously, all at once, all timelines, all at once, on a continuous force. Okay? And so you guys have to start recognizing your line positions to all levels and how you see yourself in all metric communication. Right? Ground setting, foundation, position, location is all levels of 24. You have to be in 24 light and you have to be in 24 dark. Now, what I mean by that is now you're grounding your settings and your thought position locations into 24,000 light signal locations. You don't have to worry about 12 because now you're in a foundation of 24. Now, once you understand the 24 and 24 comes position locations to a 60,000 line, comes into 48 position. Now, that 48,000 line sets line communication to a 72,000 line track location in your computer that opens all position locations to your 144 crystal grid. Now, this is all calculated to modify how you use your central system in your 12 DNA. Okay, because that's what you're working with. Your division line setting is a tactic view, position, location, and directions, and you truly have to understand how to use this through zero operation. The highest formation line connection is zero gravity, guys. Right? You got to bring it down to one number, one space, one time. Everything comes into one, all at once, simultaneously. So your thoughts are no longer separated in position locations of direction into the male and into the female aspects of you. Right? That's what you got to get balanced with. And that scales you, line setting, line interference, to 5 position locations of direct locations of balance locations into 2 panels of operation. Okay? Anything outline setting sets all calculation to confusion. Right? Outline. You stay within the inline setting in all direct locations, in setting, position, location setting. Right? So you're not just looking up, you're not just looking down, you're not just looking side, you're not just looking back, you're looking everywhere all at once. Okay? When you walk into a room, are you just looking straight ahead? No, you're looking everywhere. So you got to scan the perimeter, right? That's a basic understanding. So when you walk into anywhere you go, you're looking at the space-time of its pie. From a bird's eye view, you're looking back, and then you see everything of its creation. So these are the things you have to look at. And the only way you can understand that line setting is a bird's eye view, looking down from seeing above. Okay? Because that's what you're living signals on, position locations and a 24 signal. You're looking up, you're looking down, and you're looking side communications. Right? So that's a true understanding where you are. But that's just the beginning. So in position, your avatar is looking like this. This is what your avatar sees. Doesn't just see the 4-line position, location, and directions. It sees all this all at once. Okay? And that's it's so complicated when you get into levels of perspective locations in the peripheral. So the peripheral changes the position location of its direction line center to geometry interference location to code signal, code active stream, code reading line setting into teleportation, telecommunication, television line center location of mine, of telepathy, of telekinesis locations. You're looking in all directions all at once. Per second, per minute, per hour. The channel operation line setting is 60 seconds per minute, right? Okay, now you're on a 60-hour window communication system. 1 hour of one position, one direction, one thought changes your connections to your line setting to your peripheral locations of northwest, south, and east. All right. So it's about understanding how to see line positions in all direction locations, right? You got 2 panel wall line settings. You split it location, right? So the wall circuit sets line position location of its directions, okay, on 2 sidelines, right? Now, once you understand that, then you understand the communication system, how it sets its direction locations, right? The channel operation line setting sets all calculations and how you see yourself in your panels of travel. You got 3 line settings in position, location, directions, all levels of channel communication. Okay. Direct and redirect locations. Direct, redirect, direct, redirect. Okay. So it's a foundation of you to change the perception of how you see yourself all at once. One frequency, one time, all line position locations to your system. So it's taking all your senses and all timelines all at once. As soon as you walk into a room, you see everything all in calculation. Not just north, south, and east. Okay, so when you travel locations, this is you. That's you traveling, right? So understand the mind conception line, change position, location, directions, right? Let's just change position. All right. So this is you traveling to a very high acceleration line position, all right? So you're coming across lines all levels. Okay, so here comes in position locations to a room. Okay, this is a room. Okay, now what it has to understand is grounds. It has to understand the ground line setting. It has to understand the communication system. It has to understand the ceiling position. It has to understand the panels on both side positions. So this is where it starts with the position locations first, right? And then when it understands line position, it scans all levels of track location all at once. So it scans here, 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 all the way around your central communication system. Right? So once it understands it's got a scan line setting, it sets locations to retrogrades. Now, retrograde line setting sets line condition hologram structure locations. This channels your line center, your contracts, and your blueprints, set location, hologram location. It's like an architect sees everything through schematics. Now, the schematic location changes ground setting. Now, it's all about understanding when the hologram structure understands line position, it understands the foundations, right? You start with outline conditions. Okay. Now, that's off position, right? Now, the avatar knows exactly what to do. It knows how to bounce the communications back in ground setting, put it in level location, right? So it sets up the ground location hologram structure in its vision. Okay. So once it gets in that line setting, it sets up another position location of calculations. So setting up a structure location is to understand the panel lines. That's 2 panel communication settings, right? So when you're doing that, you're opening up a window calculation setting to a 4,000 line setting rotation interference in graph locations. All right. Now the graph line setting sets position of directions. Now this is where it opens channels. Now you can set position locations. So for example, this position location of this painting, right, has calculations of numbers that's on it. Okay. Now it's on balance of both line position. It's not the male and it's not the female aspect. It's the actual illustration of what it is through its diagram. So it's modified through its intelligence, understands its intelligence, understands its ground, it understands its foundation, it understands its dimension, it understands its portal, it understands coloration, and it understands its hologram structure, and it also has its own calculation to its own sun and its own moon of flux capacitor, of travel, all through this, because it's intelligence. It's not a painting. Okay? So it's picking these things up all through hologram structure line. That's what it is in division. You just understand the multi-iteration settings and how it sets location, positional locations, calculations at it. So this is how you see things in locations. All right, I'm just going to go through location of room. Okay. Okay, it's what I see line conditions, all right? Now let's start with that location. No, let's start with that line setting. Okay. Something similar to that line setting, all right? So this is this. Everything you see here. Just a basic foundation line. So I'm setting in the image. So once I set up the image, I know exactly what it is, position, location, directions. And the wall line setting back here is trying to understand what I'm doing. Say, what are you doing? I say, well, I'm setting up a structural location of you. Oh, okay. Now I understand the intelligent line condition to its ground setting is operational locations. So it's not male and the female aspects location. It's living this timeline sequence location all at once in one frame. Not two, not three, not four frames. One frame location at one timeline setting. Okay? So all this is this. So if this is set up, I can change this and add, which will change everything in the background. So to understand the timeline and the time sequence of time code location is staying in that position of its indifference. The indifference location changes position location to a Lavoisier space anomaly, right? So if I add things, let's say a location like this, just a basic foundation locations. Now I didn't add the vase in a line setting, but I don't have to because it's already set locations. I just got the face and foundation background location. Okay, as long as I applied it to division location of vibration locations, it's all in its communication system. Okay? So it's known exactly the vibration of everything that it is, locations. So if I want to add things, and let's say I want to take it out, right? It's starting to recognize what I'm doing, right? So this is now changed. What changes everything in the background? It changed the hologram structure of the idea that I set up location, right? So that's a position where everything changes. I'm just showing you how powerful it is when you can change things. All levels of a position location of an idea that becomes a visionary line, it becomes its own intelligence. And they're saying, well, what are you doing? Right? I'm structuring the design to change the frame. And if I change the frame, it changes the energy, it changes the vibration and the frequency in this room. All through the connections of the grounds, the powers, and the atmosphere. Do you see how powerful you are, what you can do through location your thought lines all through power communication system? You become communication line settings of adapters. So you're adapting the situation. Okay? And if you look really, really close, don't look at me, look at the picture. You'll see it move. Everything that I did, you'll see it actually do the same thing. And there it is. See? Everything that I did is in balanced communication. Isn't that amazing when you look at locations? And that's why I want you to understand these things. Instead of saying me, all lines say location, look behind. Don't look at me, look behind position. So it's like looking at a board, not at the board, through the board. Because there's always another side. There's always another side to this. which is its dimension setting. So you have to learn how to balance these things out, or you're going to be all levels of separation in your mind or your thought location. Right? Just showing you how powerful it is and how you can change things in its position. Okay? But you have to be aware of your environment, especially when you walk in a room, right? Because your mind can pretty much change anything in its directory. Illumination graph settings, illumination graph interference, illumination interference location, hologram shark locations. You can change the sunline direct locations. You can change any of the position locations because the avatar knows exactly what you just finished doing. You change the frame of everything in the room, all through energy. So that means that you've heightened all levels of your senses. Right? Now you can backtrack and know exactly what you did through clock locations. You can rewind line setting and see what you just finished doing. There's nothing you can't do through the mind setting because it's all position locations. It's a projection location that's projecting everything that you see every second, every minute, every hour. Okay. That's a time frame, time lock setting. Now, when you're locking setting locations, it gets more complicated. So when you walk in line setting of a room, you have to understand the structure of its hologram, how it set locations to its dimensional setting location. So you're reaching higher levels of space calculation. And when you're reaching higher levels of space calculation, you'd be amazed what you can do with adaptation of its intelligence. It volumes in so many velocity locations. Now, velocity sets line settings, okay? I just wanted to show you how powerful it is and where you can change things, right? But you have to let the background know first. You can't just draw things out and see what you're doing. Like, even if you draw it in a perfect design, doesn't matter. What matters is that you did not communicate without asking its permission. You have to identify these things, which means you have to identify everything in this room before you change anything in its frame location of its space anomaly. Okay? We'll get into anomalies where you have to really understand line setting locations. So one line center locations, one decided to turn it into three. Now 3 locations comes into a picture frame. So 1 jumped over line setting to 3 position locations, and line setting location to a frame. Now the frame line center comes into 3 line position locations, changes direct location. Okay, 3 changes line center locations to 5. 3 equals 5. 5 central systems comes up in division locations. Circle line center locations come to 3. And you can go into 6 and you can go into 9. Now change position to 3 line position. 3 equals 6. The central location is 7 and 7 locations of 8. 8 central is its communication setting. Right? 6, 7, and 8. Now the 8 sets line position locations. 8 equals 3. 3 equals line condition of 5. 5 equals line center location of 7. 7 equals line centers, XD 1000 line conditions of 12. 12 central line communications, but it's off system. Put it back in calculation system. 12 line center set position location, upline setting, 12 times 1, okay, equals line center locations of 24. Now you got balanced communication in dimensional setting location. Ooh-ah. So there's so many communication settings that you set up location in division line setting. Understanding adaptation circles, understanding adaptation systems is all levels of U through track location. It's the foundation ground setting location of U. The first thing you got to look at in line setting rotation interference. You notice the background's moving? Moving very, very fast in calculation setting rotation interference in direct locations. Utter channeling setting line position location directions, all levels of holding signals. Okay, we got a life center line rotation interference, position location directions, center calculation setting. So it's all redirect signal. Now redirect signal line setting sets all position location directions. All right. Setting course lines, see that? The solar graph line setting, that was 3 million line settings per second per channel per operation per square per mile. That's what it was, light signature locations. Ground setting line center rotations change position location directions. Now you saw somebody walk in the room location, right? That changes the energy. Right? That changes in my space anomaly. So I have to change that back, because if I don't change that back, it changes everything in this room automatically. So being aware of these things, you have to set the mind communication system of where you are through calculations. This levels your setting and how you set locations, right? How you use your finger point line settings. Okay, so inline position, you no longer set location of the filter. You become the absolute locations. I can travel through that painting line setting and show you exactly what I mean, right? So it's all about getting information from everywhere line setting per second, per channel, per operation. Now, when you get into the sectors, it high channels its operation stream that sets more locations to its vector. Vector comes into high setting location, right? The channel operation stream setting sets line position, location, and directions. Knowing exactly what you're communicating with an all-level system. Balancing you is the foundation of grounds. Now you have to set your location, your 24 signals, right? So your thought line center has to be in a foundation of graph locations of 24, not 12, not 6, 24. Okay? Because your central system is living in space anomaly of 24,000 light center locations of patterns. Now that correlates to center locations when you come into size graph line setting. Now coming into line setting, into size graph locations, channels you into higher level division. Okay, so let's say you got a 24 ground setting locations. That scales line setting, 24 equal location of scale. Right, the scale comes in position location line center communication. So the communication high rise is line center. Let's get into diamond core line center location of 6, in position location of 7, line position of 8, in position location of 9. Travel locations, 45 degree angle, 12 line setting, in security measure, position location of travel location. Right? You're setting this up like connection to travel locations, but you're doing it through number sequence location of patterns. So there's so many ways to travel locations into portal communication. Setting locations into a swirl lines. You start with that line, right? And then you travel through it. Okay? But you have to know what you're traveling through because it's set line positions. Kind of looks like an upside down cone line setting. So it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now you don't have to travel through 12 line center all the time. It's position locations to understand your body and what it's doing through constellation path because it understands position locations, all lines, and timelines all at once in position location calculation. So let's say you set location at 12 lines, right? This overrides the center line positions. See that? See the solar graph come in? 1, 2, 3. 3 communication setting, right? So this opens up a new atom line signal in line position location and triangulation. Everything has to be in triangulation for communication. You don't set up triangulation, you can't communicate with anything in this room. You have to understand the shapes. If this is a 4-window line setting, 4 windows, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. You see 4, right? 4-point settings, 4 line signature locations, right? But then what is the center of communication? Me, standing right in front view. So I am the center operation of everything that I see simultaneously all at once in all timeline. You have to balance everything in front of you, back of you, side of you, up, down, and all around position, location, directions through your space, through your time, through your pie. Okay? So mind travel locations sets direction. This helps you in all signal locations. This channels its line setting. It directs location of signals. It gets a little bit more formative. All of it's a channel operation stream location, right? Understanding box channels. See that? 4, right? You're dealing with 4 graph locations to streamlines, right? These are 4 graph line settings, right? So if you look it up really close, you see what it is in position location calculations. Okay? So you got to bring things up in closer location to understand what it is. Right? That's what you're dealing with. Right? And then when you really understand, you really see things up close. And then it starts to move on its own. So once it starts to move on its own and starts its lacing locations, right? The coloration of change. See? See how change line center, light line interference, sets position, location, directions, locations. See? See how it travels? Everything travels, right? See it's changed shade line setting, set line position, location, coloration. See how it changed color? See lights in neutral line setting, sets location. Shade position to direct locations. Right? Recognition line center, light in position location, code setting locations, all levels of dark line. All position locations, high setting interference. See? So we have to start seeing things up close to understand what it is, position locations. You can change the vision line setting and position location of direction of travel. So it's area locations, right? Setting position location direction. Setting position location directions. See? So it's still there, but it's changed now. Coloration line setting. Coloration change position location direction locations, right? They're like locations, right? Change direct locations, how you channel line setting. See it change position location. So this is what you see through night line setting. G, 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 and then it brings in location to understand what it is. Right? Look really close, you can see the intelligent location. So, and again, you turn position, location, and direction. But you can still see it. It's still there. It's still there. Right? So it's protecting its system and what it is. It doesn't leave the system until it understands what you're doing. See the nose line setting? See the energy pod connections? Skyscraper high center interference with Skynet sets line position, location, direct locations, right? So it doesn't matter how many circles you line their rotations, it's still going to be there. It's still there, right? So it's redirect location, position, direct locations. It's still there. It's protecting its system. So it's entry locations, and then you come into this line setting. Okay, come into that, you turn location line setting, change position, location, direction. Opens new signal. All levels a new channel operation setting, right? But it's still there. So it's interesting you look locations, right? It doesn't matter how many times you turn at locations, but you're always setting new position location at your line settings. But it's still there, right? It's always still going to be there until you change position, location, and direction, right? Change position, location, direction. Change position, location, and direction. Okay? It's fascinating when you see the coloration line setting. At all levels at system locations, right? And then you start new, right? So I'm just showing you how you can do shadow blocking. We just did some shadow blocking. Now, shadow block line setting sets line position of space and all these position, location, directions. You start with this location, right? And now that's just line strip location. Do the same thing, position, location, of directions. Okay, now let's go into coloration line setting. Let's go into different coloration. Indirect location. See what I'm doing? Directing and redirect location, different coloration line setting. Come into communication to another coloration, but it's a different rotation setting. See? Change position, location, directions, right? See how fascinating what colors can do? This is doing it on its own. So it's telling me exactly what I need to do to change position, location, of space anomaly, space direct location, coloration line setting, to all get setting, the rotation interference. So again, we change the color locations, we change into purple location. Indirect location of signal. Right? Let's change the image location. Change the direct line setting. See, it's upline rotation interference. It's not signal location of downline setting, right? So it's position, location, directions. Go on the opposite circle location. Right? You look really close, you can see the intelligence. So it sets position, location, direction. See? Solar flash setting, line center, rotation, interference. Coming to another pixel location position at all levels. Okay? Change the coloration line setting. Okay, let's go into white circle location. Center communication setting. Different coloration. So what I'm doing is I'm just adding different colors. Basic understanding coloration location. Orange line setting. Indirect location. Right? You guys have to understand what you see in the skylines, because it's a direct signal towards you. See, again, solar graph locations. Change the position location, different color. See, I was using the same color, but it changes position and directions to its heat signature locations. Same position locations, all levels of channel operation setting. See? So, and again, you change the coloration. Let's go into black line setting. Rotation interference, sets position location directions. Okay? Change position locations, change the coloration. See? And I'm doing it through my finger line setting. 5 position location of colorations, 4 change operation signals into 1 thumb. All communication to where? Moon setting. So, charge position to direct locations. Let's channel off. Change the line setting rotations, change coloration. All right, so let's get it a little bit more into shading. Okay. Let's go into illumination line streams. There's 1 position location calculations. Start with this locations. That's green, right? All right, so now you can see line connections and grids. See the grid? See the grid, but you still see the shape. That's just a reflection, right? But if I change line center rotation interference, change position locations, change the coloration, change its directions of travel. See? So it turns you look at the location setting lines. It opens all track locations in its division locations that changed its direction. Right? It moved its system. So change coloration again into purple locations. Overlap signal line setting. All right? Again, you see the grid location. Right? Moving central communication setting. All levels of track locations. Again, you see the grid locations. Right? New coloration line position locations in adaptation setting. So it's all about what you see in mechanism timelines at time travel location, position, and direct locations. Let's go into coloration line setting, change line position, location, directions. Misdirect locations, center calculation. Move its signal locations back in track line center into different colorations into black location. Center calculation, high center interference in the black line center in position location, direct location, each central line communication setting. Right? So it's all about understanding how to change these things all through line center, heat signature locations, a pattern line center, coloration location of change. See, this is what you guys should be doing, is changing your position location, how you see things in your skylines calculation system. All right? Because everything travels in your direct locations. See? Everything travels. Understand what it is. All levels of travel locations. You look really close, you can see the staircase. One going one way, one going the other way. Okay? So it's all levels of U line set. See? Solar flat. See? How many times that travel locations? 5 million circle line setting line to the Fibonacci sequence location of black lines. Center calculation of stair communication setting. That's what it was, location. So working with colors sets the tone. All level system locations and position. Right? Change the direct locations, change position line setting. Right? Opens all communication colors, high setting rotation. Grid line center rotation interference. Travel location. Right? Set the tone, position locations, all levels, change the angle, set line connections with different coloration. Right? Automatically set line signals. Now there's code signals, high center interference. If you change direct location, you're changing position on all levels of calculation. Okay? Setting calculation settings, position locations, all levels of channel operation setting. See? Pretty powerful when you do these things. It's all done through clock locations, right? So, just showing you how powerful it is when you see these things, online chemistry, eye receptor locations, right? See, it covers this line setting of the grid locations until you see it. Can't see it, see it. Can't see it, see it, right? So everything is cloak and dagger. It's an amazing location when you change these things, all through eye receptor location. All right, go through different coloration line setting, change position, location, directions, all levels into position, direction. Right? Shadow, position, line, direction, location, different color. Shadow, position, locations, all lines center to a darker color. Line, position, locations, all levels of a darker color. So every time I change, it changes the coloration. Change line center to a darker color locations. Right? All levels of locations to a darker line setting, coloration line setting. Right? So this is the position where you have to balance everything calculations to how you see yourself in correlation of color. All right. So, and this modifies your formula communication setting and position, location, and direction. See? Misdirect locations, change position. All right. Change position. Change position. See how fascinating it is when you see these line settings? Travel line setting is all position, location of balance, and how you see yourself in formation, location of color, all through block line settings. Wow. So, how important is to understand your coloration line setting inside location of view through your body interference? Extremely important. I'm showing you how you can communicate to your position line directions, how you use your clockings. This way, this way, this way. Now, combination lock is what? What is the combination lock line setting? Let's get position direct locations. Clock line setting. Okay, so you got a clock location in this line setting, right? Okay, so let's eliminate the graph locations of travel into a different coloration. See? Into a different coloration. See? Into a different coloration. See how it changes? Different coloration. Different coloration. Everything changes a different coloration through clock locations of time. So when you see these things, it's amazing how you could change the position, location of its directions to its eye line setting. There's the eye line setting, right? So I want you to understand how you use your code line settings and code weave and collocations. Channel line setting interference. So to set communications back informations into illumination graph line center, into its pen, into illumination, comes into all signal locations, all levels of line setting. All right. So it's really communicating with the digital pad because it's its own intelligence. It's telling you exactly what to do, right? So you have to understand the operation setting that's given to you through thought setting. So when you get into that line setting, okay, you go this way, you go this way, you go that way, right? This way, this way, this way, and then opens up the lock. 3 combination line setting. 15 left. Okay, 26 right. All right, stand on point in position 7. Okay, it opens up. It opens up the lock, right? Lock and key. Okay, so it's like a combination lock because you have 3 central line settings: past, present, future. 3 coloration line settings, like 3 clock locations. That's how you're able to change the coloration line setting. So when you're in the sky grid locations at night line setting interference, right, you're seeing things in the location of sky, and it's going like this, right? It's trying to understand you through coloration, right? It's not going to show you the true colorations until you understand your scan setting. So you scan things first so you can protect your system locations. And then it comes in and it's like this. It will hold and then come back. And it'll go like this. It'll hold and come back, right? So what it's doing is trying to recognize your coloration and what you're trying to do through trilocations. So when you're seeing these things in the skyline setting, it's trying to understand you through provision. So it comes in this position locations, starts at this line setting, right? And then it comes into this position, all right? So there's locations, starts with this, all right? And then it travels here, right? And then it travels over here, right? And then it comes back here. It has to always come back to its foundation setting because it's set at location to its line setting to its grounds. If it wants to change its grounds, it's got to change its travel location and mechanism line setting, which is past, present, or future location and thought line interference, set position, location, and direction. Okay. So when that comes to backline signal, you're always going to see something that skylines in triangulation, always. So it sets signal locations, star mechanism timeline, star mechanism timeline, star mechanism timeline, star mechanism timelines. 4 position, location, direct line settings, all right? 1, 2, 3, 4 graph locations, right? Sets a new signal location in your position directions. This is you in standing line setting. And scanning line positions and 4-track location, right? So we really have to get into triangulation line setting, how to start up star system location of thought lines, because everything that you see in position of direct location is in its star link. Star provision location, all levels of space command setting. So it's always going to do this, right? And when it locks in signal, right, it's getting information location what you are through coloration. It's recognizing your space line setting to your scan line settings because it recognizes your locations to your 12 DNA, which is extremely powerful. Now, when you come into that position location, direct location setting, then you understand the ground settings, then you understand the power communication, then you understand your magnetic highway information line setting. So it's all position locations, it's all levels locations. X2000 comes in line setting, position zip-zap zoom, line center rotation, and 2 line conditions, right? Planetary surface, 1 position location, solar graph location. Center occasional archetype, set position of 2 track line settings. All through space division. Correlation line setting to 1 solar system location. Right? So you're seeing everything all at once. Okay? So you really have to concentrate on the seconds, minutes, hours of the day. Okay? So that's going to help you always inform location. Lot of division line circles and off interference, off calculation setting rotation. Hold on a second. All right. So how's everybody doing so far? Today is a very powerful class. I think it's about understanding, recognizing locations of what you see in the skylines, especially when you come into locations of light and dark. It's what you're seeing in your time frame, right? Because that's how you have to start seeing things, through color, through light, through travel, through recognition, through triangulation, right? And then you get a better understanding why they're in the provision. Why are they in your space, right? I think that's the biggest thing, is the how. And the how sets locations to your planetary system of all levels of your solar system, right? You can actually see your solar system if you understand your line conditions and your thoughts. This is going to help you in always inform, so once you get a better activation setting. But truly understand all levels of you is position of your directions, how you see yourself through your environment, right? Because this is where you set your locations to your thoughts. Knowing exactly what you're doing through provision helps you in always inform through calculations. All right. So, all right, taking you to track setting, line, and rotation interference. Wait to locations, rent a 4-line setting, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All right, you guys are back. Set communication system, energetic flows, center lines, open all communication setting interference. Set position, location, directions, location of channel lines. All right, so you're in signal line setting, all levels of operation signal. You guys are back in your ground setting locations of Earth perception lines. All right. All right, so we're going to stop there. There's a lot going on line position, location, calculations. All right. But just really focus on that. Just look at locations of the seconds, minutes, hours of the day. Focus on your thoughts and what you do in position, locations, and calculations. Knowing exactly what you're co-creating before you create it. All right. All right. Central communication setting. I'll see you guys on location TikTok. Adios.